Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, welcome back.
Today we're going high stakes into the world of crane safety.
Ooh, high stakes.
Brought to you by our friends at Safety One Source.
Big thanks to them.
Now this one is especially for you folks who live and breathe cranes, operators, future operators, and anyone making sure these incredible machines run safely.
It's a big responsibility.
We're talking the ASME B30.5-2018 standard, your ultimate guide to mobile and locomotive crane safety.
The ultimate guide, that's right.
So it's not just about knowing the rules.
No.
It's about understanding why they exist
Yeah, why they exist.
and how they translate to real-world safety on the job.
Out there in the field.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're holding tons of weight suspended in the air.
Tons.
That's power.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a huge responsibility.
Huge.
We're talking about people's lives.
Yeah.
Protecting structure.
Structures, yeah.
Creating a safe work environment.
Absolutely.
It all comes down to inspection and really knowing your machine.
That's where the ASME B30.5 standard comes in.
Oh, the standard, right.
Think of it as a roadmap, guiding us through every step of a crane's life.
Like a roadmap, okay.
From its very first use to its daily operation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this roadmap.
Okay.
The standard talks about three main types of inspections.
Three main types, okay.
First up, we've got the initial inspection.
Initial inspection, right?
It's like when you buy a new car.
Oh yeah, new car.
You want to make sure everything is in order before you hit the road, right?
Absolutely.
Same goes for a crane,
Same for a crane.
whether it's fresh from the factory or has had some major work done.
Major work.
It's all about verifying that the crane meets the manufacturer's specifications and those stringent safety standards.
Those standards.
We're checking everything.
Everything.
The structural components, the controls, the safety devices. Nothing gets overlooked.
Nothing overlap.
Got it.
Yeah.
So initial inspection, it's like that sigh of relief when you know the crane's good to go.
Relief.
But then what happens once the crane's on the job, working day in and day out?
That's where frequent inspections come into play.
Oh, frequent inspections. Okay.
Imagine you're an operator starting your shift.
Okay, yeah.
Before you even climb into the cab, you're doing a walk around.
Walk around. Got it.
Visually checking the crane for anything out of the ordinary.
Anything out of the ordinary. So that's your frequent inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, so it's those quick checks,
Check.
those visual cues that can alert you to potential problems.
Yeah.
Like what kind of things are we looking for here?
Well, we're looking for anything that might be a sign of wear and tear or damage.
Okay, wear and tear.
Are the control levers moving smoothly?
Right, control levers, yep.
Are there any leaks in the hydraulic system?
Hydraulic leaks,
Are the tires properly inflated?
tire pressure, right?
These might seem like small things,
Small things.
but they can have big consequences if they're ignored.
Oh, so it's about being proactive.
Proactive, absolutely.
Catching those little issues before they turn into major problems.
Major problems, yeah.
The standard even gives specific examples, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For example, the standard emphasizes the need to check the condition of structural members
Structural members, yeah.
for any bends or cracks.
Okay, bends and cracks.
It might sound obvious,
Yeah, it sounds obvious.
but you'd be surprised how often a tiny crack can go unnoticed until it's too late.
Too late. Oh, no. And the frequency of these checks depends on how hard the crane's working, right?
Exactly.
A crane on a busy construction site probably needs more frequent attention than one that's used less often.
Exactly.
It's all about assessing the risk.
Assessing the risk.
A qualified person, someone with the experience and knowledge to evaluate the crane's workload and operating conditions, would determine how often these inspections need to be done.
How often? Yeah.
Makes sense.
Right.
So we've got our initial check, our frequent checks,
Yep.
but the standard also mentions a third type of inspection, right?
Right.
The periodic inspection.
The periodic inspection.
What's the deal with that one?
Think of the periodic inspection as a comprehensive physical for your crane.
Like a physical, okay.
It's a deeper dive,
Deeper dive, all right.
going beyond those visual checks
Yeah.
and really scrutinizing the crane's inner workings.
So it's like taking the crane to the doctor for a full checkup,
Precisely.
making sure everything is running smoothly under the hood.
Under the hood.
Okay.
This is where we bring in specialized equipment,
Oh, specialized equipment, okay.
maybe even non-destructive testing method
Non-destructive, all right.
to assess the condition of critical components like the boom,
Boom.
the hoisting mechanism, the brakes, the entire hydraulic system.
The whole hydraulic system, right?
We're looking for any signs of wear, damage, or fatigue that could compromise the crane's safety.
Got it.
Yeah.
And how often does this deep dive happen?
The standard recommends a periodic inspection at least once every 12 months.
At least once every 12 months, okay.
But again, the actual frequency would depend on the crane's usage.
The crane's usage, right.
Its environment.
The environment and the recommendations of the manufacturer and the qualified person.
So these inspections are really layered. You've got those daily checks, then the more in-depth periodic inspections. And if anything is found during any of these checks, it's not just about fixing it, right?
You got it.
Okay.
Any deficiency, no matter how small,
No matter how small.
needs to be assessed by a qualified person.
By a qualified person.
They determine whether that issue poses a safety hazard
Safety hazard.
and what needs to be done to rectify it.
It sounds like the role of a qualified person is crucial throughout this entire process.
Absolutely.
We'll definitely need to dive deeper into their responsibilities later on.
Absolutely. Their expertise is essential in ensuring that cranes are operated and maintained safely. Okay, so we've laid the groundwork with these 3 types of inspections.
3 types.
Now, I'm really curious to get into the nitty-gritty of what a periodic inspection actually looks like.
Okay.
What are some of the things that inspectors are looking for, those details that can make or break a crane's safety?
That's a great question,
Right.
and that's where things get really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Section 5.2.1.3 of the ASME B30.5 standard provides a detailed checklist of items to be scrutinized during a periodic inspection.
A checklist. Okay.
And let me tell you,
Yeah.
some of the examples they give really paint a vivid picture
Vivid picture.
of what can go wrong if these inspections aren't taken seriously.
All right, I'm all ears.
Right.
Give us some highlights.
Some highlights.
What are some of those? Oh, wow, I never thought of that. Details from the standard.
Well, for starters,
Okay, for starters.
the standard talks about the importance of inspecting structural members for any signs of deformation or cracking.
Deformation or cracking.
Imagine a tiny crack in the boom.
Tiny crack. Okay.
Almost invisible to the naked eye.
Invisible, all right.
Under the immense pressure of a heavy load.
Heavy load, yeah.
That tiny crack could become a catastrophic failure.
Wow, that's a chilling thought.
It is.
It really highlights why these inspections are so crucial.
Absolutely.
What else stands out in the standard?
Another key area is the braking system.
Oh, the braking system, yeah.
The standard stresses the importance of checking the brake linings for wear and tear.
Wear and tear on the brake linings.
Remember, brakes are your lifeline when lowering heavy loads.
The lifeline.
Worn linings could mean the difference between a smooth, controlled descent
Controlled descent.
and a potential disaster.
So it's like the brakes on your car.
Yeah.
You wouldn't drive with worn out brake pads, right?
Right.
Same goes for a crane, but the stakes are even higher.
Much higher.
What other critical areas does the standard focus on?
Hydraulic systems are another major focus.
Hydraulic systems, okay.
Hydraulic fluid is essentially the lifeblood of a crane. The lifeblood.
Powering all its movement.
Oh, all its movement.
A leak in a hydraulic hose might seem minor at first,
Minor.
but it could lead to a loss of control,
Loss of control.
potentially causing a load to swing out of control or even drop.
You're really painting a picture of how crucial these inspections are.
Yeah,
But you mentioned earlier that these are just examples, right?
that's right.
The actual inspection checklist will vary depending on the specific crane and how it's being used.
Absolutely.
So while the ASME B30.5 is our guide, we always need to consider the individual crane and consult the manufacturer's manual.
Absolutely.
It's about combining the knowledge from the standard with the specific details of the machine you're working with.
Exactly.
It's about understanding the principles of crane safety
Crane safety, yeah.
and applying them to each individual situation.
Each situation.
And that's where experience and training really come into play.
That's where it really comes in.
We've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Talking about the importance of inspections and the level of detail involved. But I'm really curious to delve deeper into one particular component that's absolutely vital to a crane's operation.
Okay.
The wire rope.
The wire rope, yes.
Let's shift gears
Shift gears.
and talk about why rope inspection is so critical
Yeah,
and what we need to be looking for.
that's a great segue.
Okay.
The wire rope is the unsung hero of crane operations,
The unsung hero.
bearing the full brunt of the load.
Full brunt.
And because of the unique demands placed on a crane's rope, especially in mobile and locomotive applications,
Mobile and locomotive applications.
we need to be extra vigilant.
Okay, let's dive into that.
All right.
What makes crane ropes so different, and why do they require such careful attention?
Well, think about it.
Okay, I'm thinking about it.
A crane's rope isn't just hanging there statically.
No.
It's constantly moving.
It's moving, all right.
Bending over sheaves and drums.
Sheaves and drums.
Exposed to the elements.
The elements.
And carrying immense loads.
Immense loads, yeah.
All of this takes a toll.
So it's a tough job, no doubt. But how do we make sure those ropes are up to the challenge? That's a good question. The standard talks about design factors, right?
It does.
What are those all about?
Design factors are essentially safety margins built into the rope's strength.
Safety margins, okay.
They ensure that the rope can handle significantly more stress than it's ever expected to encounter in normal operation.
So it's like having a backup plan for your backup plan.
Exactly.
So it's not just about picking a rope that's strong enough.
No.
It needs to be way stronger, considering all those forces and stresses you mentioned.
It does.
And when it comes to inspection, we take a two-pronged approach, similar to what we discussed with the crane itself.
Similar approach, yeah.
Frequent and periodic inspection.
Frequent and periodic.
Okay, so let's break down those rope inspections.
Okay.
What are we looking for on a day-to-day basis?
The frequent rope inspection is your visual check.
Visual check.
Your frontline defense.
Frontline defense.
Every day, you're running your hand along the rope, feeling for any abnormalities.
Running your hand along, Kofi.
And looking for any glaring signs of damage.
Glaring signs, all right. So it's a hands-on inspection, literally.
Literally.
What kind of red flags should send an operator running for the qualified person?
You're on the lookout for things like kinking.
Kinking, okay.
Crush it.
Crush it, yeah.
Broken strands.
Broken strands.
Corrosion.
Corrosion, right.
And something called core protrusion.
Core protrusion.
Yeah.
That sounds serious.
It can be.
What exactly is happening there?
Imagine a rope as a tightly woven braid.
A braided, okay.
The core is like the inner strength of that braid, providing support.
The inner strength.
When the core starts to push out between the strands,
push out, okay.
It's a sign that the rope's internal structure is compromised.
Compromised.
And its strength is severely weakened.
So it's like when you see a tire bulging. You know there's a problem inside.
That's a great analogy.
It's a clear sign that the rope needs to be replaced, no questions asked.
Absolutely.
And the standard actually shares a pretty vivid anecdote about this.
It does.
They describe seeing a rope that's lost its diameter in one spot.
Lost its diameter.
Like something's eaten away at it from the inside.
Eaten away, yeah.
That's core protrusion at its worst, and it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Waiting to happen.
Wow, that's a powerful image.
It is.
It really drives home the importance of those daily checks.
Those daily checks.
But remember, that's just the frequent inspection.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the periodic rope inspection, which takes a much deeper dive.
A much deeper dive.
So instead of just checking the section of rope that's being used that day,
right,
we're looking at the entire length.
Precisely.
And we're not just glancing at it.
No.
We're carefully examining every inch of that rope.
Every inch.
Looking for both the obvious and the hidden threats.
Both, yes.
What kind of hidden threats are we talking about?
Well, in addition to everything we check during the frequent inspection, we're also looking for more subtle signs of deterioration.
Subtle signs.
Things like a reduction in diameter.
Reduction in diameter.
Which could indicate internal wear.
Internal wear, okay.
Corrosion at the end connection.
End connections.
And wear patterns that might not be immediately obvious.
So it sounds like this periodic inspection requires a trained eye.
It does.
Someone who knows what to look for.
Yeah.
And can interpret those subtle signs.
Absolutely.
Now, here's a question I'm sure a lot of operators are wondering.
Okay.
When do you know it's time to retire a rope?
Ah, good question.
Is there a set time frame, like a replace every 2 years kind of rule?
That's where things get really interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Rope replacement isn't based on a calendar.
Not on a calendar.
It's based on specific removal criteria outlined in the ASME B30.5 standard.
Removal criteria.
These criteria are essentially red flags.
Red flags, gotcha.
Telling you that a rope has reached its limit and needs to be taken out of service.
Out of service, okay. Give us those red flags.
All right.
What are the criteria that scream, replace me?
Well, one of the most critical criteria is broken wires.
Broken wires, okay.
If you find 6 randomly distributed broken wires in one lay of a running rope.
6 broken wires.
That's a game over for that rope.
Game over.
It might still look okay from a distance.
Okay, from a distance.
But its strength is compromised.
So even one seemingly small broken wire can be a big deal.
It can be.
What else are we looking for?
Remember core protrusion?
Oh yeah, core protrusion.
That's an instant removal, no questions asked.
No questions asked. Wow.
And then you've got kinking.
Kinking again?
Crushing, bird caging.
Bird caging, okay.
Any distortion of the rope structure is a major red flag.
Major red flag, right.
These deformations weaken the rope and make it prone to sudden failure.
I can imagine a kink in a rope creating a weak point, kind of like bending a paper clip back and forth until it snaps.
Exactly.
And another thing we watch out for is heat damage.
Heat damage.
A rope that's been exposed to excessive heat,
Excessive heat.
like from a welding torch or a power line, is no longer reliable. No longer reliable.
That heat can alter the structure of the steel and weaken the rope significantly.
So these removal criteria are not suggestions.
No.
They're serious warnings that should never be ignored.
Never be ignored.
And while the standard provides these guidelines, it's ultimately up to a qualified person to make the final call on rope replacement.
Up to a qualified person.
They use their judgment based on these criteria and their experience to ensure that only safe and reliable ropes are used in crane operations.
Only safe ropes.
So it sounds like the qualified person plays a critical role in every aspect of crane safety, from inspections to rope assessment.
Absolutely.
But what about the bigger picture of maintaining these complex machines?
That's important too.
What does the standard say about keeping cranes in tip-top shape?
Well, that's where Section 5.2.3 of the ASME B30.5 standard comes in.
Okay, another section.
And it all starts with a simple but crucial principle. Follow the manufacturer's recommended preventative maintenance program.
Follow the program, okay.
Absolutely.
So no cutting corners or relying on guesswork when it comes to maintenance?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
Every crane is designed and built to specific standards.
Specific standards.
And the manufacturer knows best how to keep it running smoothly and safely.
They do.
We need to stick to that schedule, those procedures, and use only the correct parts.
The correct parts. Got it.
We're talking about precision engineering here.
Precision engineering, yeah.
Even seemingly small adjustments need to be made within specific tolerances to ensure that every component is functioning correctly.
So it's not just about fixing what's broken.
No.
It's about understanding the interplay of all those components and making sure they work together seamlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the expertise of qualified maintenance personnel really shines.
Qualified personnel.
They're not just mechanics.
No.
They're problem solvers.
Problem solvers.
Understanding the intricacies of these machines and ensuring that every repair and adjustment is done to the highest standards.
The highest standards.
Okay, so we've covered inspections, rope replacement, and the importance of following the manufacturer's maintenance program.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear that safety is paramount at every stage of a crane's operation.
Absolutely paramount.
But I'm curious, are there any real-world examples, any stories that really highlight the importance of these safety measures?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's hear one.
And that's where things get really impactful.
Impactful, all right.
I remember a case where an operator noticed a slight vibration in the crane's boom during a routine inspection.
Oh, a vibration.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was subtle.
Subtle.
Something that might have been overlooked.
Overlooked.
But the operator knew something wasn't right.
That's good.
They immediately stopped operation and called in a qualified inspector.
Good move.
Ah.
What did the inspector find?
Well, it turned out that there was a small crack developing in a weld that secured a critical structural component.
A crack in a weld.
It was tiny.
Tiny.
Barely visible to the naked eye.
Barely visible. Wow.
But the inspector knew that under the stress of a heavy load,
Under stress.
that crack could have propagated,
Propagated, okay.
potentially leading to a catastrophic failure of the boom.
A catastrophic failure. Wow. That's incredible.
It is.
It really underscores the importance of paying attention to those seemingly small details.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That operator's vigilance and their understanding of the crane's behavior likely prevented a serious accident.
Good for them.
It's a testament to the importance of training, experience, and trusting your instincts.
So it's not just about knowing the rules.
Yeah.
It's about being aware, observant, and proactive.
Proactive.
It's about understanding that crane safety is a continuous process. Something that requires constant attention and vigilance.
Constant.
And it's not just the operator's responsibility.
No, it's not.
It's a team effort.
It is.
Everyone involved in crane operations,
Yeah.
from the riggers to the signal persons to the maintenance crew,
Everyone.
plays a role in ensuring safety.
They do.
It's about creating a culture of safety where everyone understands the risks and takes those risks seriously.
Absolutely.
We need to move away from the mindset of, it'll never happen to me.
Never happened to me, yeah.
And embrace a proactive approach to safety.
Proactive, yeah.
Where we're constantly looking for ways to improve, to mitigate risks, and to prevent accidents before they occur.
Before they occur, that's right.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
We've talked about the different types of inspections, the importance of rope assessment and replacement, the critical role of maintenance, and the power of a strong safety culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear more about that all-important figure.
Oh, yeah.
The qualified person.
Oh, the qualified person.
Let's shift gears.
Shift gears.
And dive into their responsibilities and why they're so crucial to ensuring safe crane operations.
That's a great point.
Okay.
The qualified person is essentially the guardian of crane safety.
The guardian.
The one who brings it all together.
Brings it all together.
Knowledge.
Knowledge.
The experience. The judgment.
Okay, I'm ready to hear more about these guardians of safety.
Oh,
Let's dive in.
Let's go. Well, think about it. A crane's rope isn't just hanging there, statically.
Yeah, it's under tension all the time.
Right. It's constantly moving, bending over those sheaves and drums. It's exposed to the elements, rain, wind, sun, everything.
And of course, carrying those immense loads.
Exactly. Immense loads. All of that, well, it takes a toll on the rope.
So it's a tough job, no doubt. But how do we make sure those ropes are really up to the challenge?
Yeah.
The standard, it talks about design factors, right? What are those all about?
Yeah, design factors. Good point. They're essentially safety margins built into the rope's strength.
So like extra strength.
Yeah, you could say that. They ensure that the rope can handle, significantly more stress than it's ever really expected to encounter in normal operation.
So it's like having a backup plan for your backup plan.
Exactly. You got it.
So it's not just about, picking a rope that's strong enough.
Right.
It needs to be way stronger.
Yeah.
Like considering all those forces and stresses you mentioned.
Absolutely. And when it comes to inspection, we take a two-pronged approach, similar to what we discussed with the crane itself.
Okay, so like a double check.
Yeah, you could say that. We have frequent and periodic inspections.
Okay, so let's break down those rope inspections.
Okay.
What are we looking for on a day-to-day basis?
So the frequent rope inspection, that's your visual check, your frontline defense, really. Every day, you're running your hand along the rope, feeling for any abnormalities, looking for those, glaring signs of damage.
So it's a hands-on inspection, literally. What kind of red flags, like what should send an operator running for the qualified person?
You're on the lookout for things like kinking.
Okay, kinking.
Crushing.
Broken strands, yep.
Corrosion.
Corrosion,
And something called core protrusion.
Core protrusion, that sounds serious. What exactly is happening there?
So imagine a rope as like a tightly woven braid.
Okay, like a braid, yeah.
The core is like the inner strength of that braid, providing support. When the core starts to kind of push out between the strands, it's a sign that the internal structure is compromised.
Okay.
And its strength is severely weakened.
So it's like when you see a tire bulging.
Mm-hmm.
You know there's a problem inside.
That's a great analogy, yeah. And it's a clear sign that the rope needs to be replaced, no questions asked. And the standard, it actually shares a pretty vivid anecdote about this. They describe seeing a rope that's lost its diameter in one spot.
Oh, wow.
Like something's eaten away at it from the inside.
Like deteriorated.
Yeah, deteriorated. That's core protrusion at its worst, and it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It really drives home the importance of those daily checks.
Absolutely. But remember, that's just the frequent inspection. We also have the periodic rope inspection, which takes a much, much deeper dive.
So instead of just checking the section of rope that's being used that day,
right,
we're looking at the entire length.
Precisely. And we're not just, glancing at it. We're carefully examining every inch of that rope, looking for both the obvious and the hidden threats.
What kind of hidden threats are we talking about? What are those?
Well, in addition to everything we check during the frequent inspection, we're also looking for more subtle signs of deterioration, things like a reduction in diameter, which could indicate internal wear.
Okay.
Corrosion at the end, connections, and wear patterns that might not be immediately obvious.
So it sounds like this periodic inspection, it requires a trained eye, someone who really knows what to look for.
It does, yeah.
And can interpret those subtle signs.
Absolutely. You need to understand the language of ropes, so to speak. You need to know what a healthy rope looks and feels like, and be able to spot those early warning signs that signal trouble.
Now, here's a question I'm sure a lot of operators are wondering. When do you know it's time to retire a rope? Is there a set time frame, like a replace every 2 years kind of rule?
That's where things get really interesting. Rope replacement isn't based on a calendar.
Not on a calendar, okay.
It's based on specific removal criteria outlined in the ASME B30.5 standard.
Okay.
These criteria they're essentially red flags telling you that a rope has reached its limit and needs to be taken out of service.
Give it those red flags. What are the criteria that scream replace me?
Well, one of the most critical criteria is broken wires. If you find 6 randomly distributed broken wires in one lay of a running rope.
6 broken wires.
That's it. Game over for that rope.
Game over. Wow.
It might still look, okay from a distance, but its strength is compromised. It's like a chain. It's only as strong as its weakest link.
So even one seemingly small broken wire, that can be a big deal.
It can be a very big deal.
What else are we looking for?
Remember core protrusion?
Oh yeah, core protrusion.
That's an instant removal, no questions asked.
No questions asked.
And then you've got kinking.
Kinking again.
Crushing, bird caging.
Bird caging, okay.
Any distortion of the rope's structure is a major red flag.
Got it.
These deformations, well, they weaken the rope and make it prone to sudden failure.
I can imagine a kink in a rope kind of creating a weak point, like bending a paperclip back and forth until it snaps.
Exactly. It's all about understanding how those stresses affect the integrity of the rope. And another thing we watch out for is heat damage. A rope that's been exposed to excessive heat, like from a welding torch
right.
or a power line, is no longer reliable. That heat can alter the structure of the steel and weaken the rope significantly.
So these removal criteria are not suggestions.
Oh, they're not.
There's serious warnings that should never be ignored.
Never be ignored.
And while the standard provides these guidelines, it's ultimately up to a qualified person to make that final call on rope replacement.
Absolutely.
They use their judgment based on these criteria and their experience to ensure that only safe and reliable ropes are used in crane operations.
Only safe ropes. That's the goal.
So it sounds like the qualified person plays a critical role in every aspect of crane safety, from inspections to rope assessment.
Absolutely.
But what about the bigger picture of maintaining these complex machines? What does the standard say about keeping cranes in tip-top shape?
Well, that's where Section 5.2.3 of the ASME B30.5 standard comes in. And it all starts with a simple but crucial principle. Follow the manufacturer's recommended preventative maintenance program.
Okay, so no cutting corners or relying on guesswork when it comes to maintenance.
Absolutely not. Every crane is designed and built to specific standards.
Right.
And the manufacturer, well, they know best how to keep it running smoothly and safely. We need to stick to that schedule, those procedures, and use only the correct parts.
Makes sense, but I imagine there are a lot of moving parts, literally. When it comes to maintaining a crane, what are some of the key things that operators and maintenance crews need to be aware of?
One of the most important things is understanding the safety procedures before starting any maintenance work.
Okay.
We need to secure the crane, deactivate power sources, place warning signs, and relieve any hydraulic pressure. It's all about, creating a safe environment for the technicians and preventing any accidental movements or releases of energy.
You don't want a boom suddenly swinging into action while someone's working on it.
Exactly, not at all. And speaking of those technicians, it's crucial that they use the correct replacement parts and follow the manufacturer's instructions to the letter.
To the letter, right.
We're talking about precision engineering here. Even seemingly small adjustments need to be made within specific tolerances to ensure that every component is functioning correctly.
It's not just about fixing what's broken.
Right.
It's about understanding the interplay of all those components and making sure they work together, seamlessly.
Precisely. And that's where the expertise of qualified maintenance personnel really shines. They're not just, mechanics, they're problem solvers.
Problem solvers.
Understanding the intricacies of these machines and ensuring that every repair and adjustment is done to the highest standards.
Okay, so we've covered inspections, rope replacement, and the importance of following the manufacturer's maintenance program. It's clear that safety is paramount at every stage of a of a crane's operation.
It really is.
But I'm curious, were there any real world examples, any stories that really highlight the importance of these safety measures?
Absolutely. And that's where things get really impactful. I remember a case where an operator noticed a slight vibration in the crane's boom during a routine inspection.
Oh, a vibration. Interesting.
It was subtle, something that might have been, overlooked, but the operator, they knew something wasn't quite right.
Well.
They immediately stopped operation and called in a qualified inspector.
Smart move. What did the inspector find?
Well, it turned out that there was a small crack developing in a weld that secured a critical structural component.
Oh, wow.
It was tiny, barely visible to the naked eye.
Right.
But the inspector, they knew that under the stress of a heavy load, that crack could have propagated, potentially leading to a catastrophic failure of the boom.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. It really underscores the importance of paying attention to those seemingly small details.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That operator's vigilance and their understanding of the crane's behavior, it likely prevented a serious accident. It's a testament to the importance of training, experience, and trusting your instincts.
So it's not just about knowing the rules. It's about being, aware, observant, and proactive.
It's proactive, yeah.
It's about understanding that crane safety is a continuous process.
Yeah.
Something that requires constant attention and vigilance.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the operator's responsibility. It's a team effort.
It really is.
Everyone involved in crane operations, from the riggers to the signal persons to the maintenance crew, plays a role in ensuring safety. It's about creating a culture of safety where everyone understands the risks and takes those risks seriously.
100%.
We need to move away from the mindset of it'll never happen to me and embrace a proactive approach to safety, where we're constantly looking for ways to improve, to mitigate risks, and to prevent accidents before they occur.
Before they occur. That's the key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've
Yeah.
talked about the different types of inspections, the importance of rope assessment and replacement, the clinical role of maintenance, and the power of a strong safety culture.
There's a lot to think about.
But I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear more about that all-important figure.
Oh, yeah.
The qualified person. Let's shift gears and dive into their responsibilities and why they're so crucial to ensuring safe crane operations.
That's a great point. The qualified person is essentially the guardian of crane safety.
The guardian
The one who brings it all together.
brings it all together.
The knowledge, the experience, the judgment.
Okay, I'm ready to hear more about these guardians of safety.
Right.
Let's dive in.
Let's go. The qualified person, they're really the linchpin in this whole crane safety system. They're the ones who, make sure everything we've talked about today is actually happening, like on the ground in the real world.
So it's not just about knowing the ASME standard. It's about having someone who can, interpret it, apply it to those specific situations,
Right.
and make those tough calls when needed.
Exactly. The qualified person, they're kind of like a judge in a courtroom.
Oh, a judge.
Yeah. They weigh the evidence, they consider all the factors, and then, they issue a ruling, so to speak, on whether a crane is, safe to operate, whether a rope needs to be replaced, or whether a particular repair meets the required standards.
It's a big responsibility. What
Yeah.
kind of background and experience do you need to become a qualified person?
Well, the ASME B30.5 standard, it doesn't actually specify exact qualifications. It leaves that up to the employer or regulatory body. But in general, we're talking about someone with extensive knowledge of crane design, operation, and maintenance.
So it's not just about, having years of experience as an operator.
Mm-hmm.
You need that deep understanding of how these machines work, like inside and out.
Absolutely. The qualified person, they need to be able to read and interpret engineering drawings, understand load charts, recognize potential hazards, and know how to inspect and test every component of a crane.
It sounds like a pretty specialized skill set. Where do people typically gain this kind of expertise?
A lot of qualified persons, they come from a mechanical engineering background, or they have, years of experience working as crane technicians or inspectors. There are also specialized training programs and certifications available that focus specifically on crane safety and inspection.
So it's a combination of formal education, hands-on experience, and ongoing training to stay up to date with the latest standards and technologies.
That's right. The world of cranes, it's constantly evolving with new designs, new materials, and new challenges emerging all the time. The qualified person, they need to be a lifelong learner, always seeking to expand their knowledge and stay ahead of the curve.
It's like a doctor who needs to keep up with the latest medical advancements.
Exactly. And just like a doctor, the qualified person, they need to have, strong communication skills. They need to be able to explain complex technical concepts to operators, maintenance crews, and management in a clear and concise way.
So it's not just about being a technical expert. It's also about being a teacher, a mentor, someone who can guide others and foster that culture of safety that we talked about earlier.
You got it. The qualified person, they're a leader, setting the standard for safety and ensuring that everyone involved in crane operations understands their role in maintaining a safe work environment.
So we've covered the responsibilities of the qualified person, their expertise and their role as a safety leader. It's clear they play a vital role in keeping those cranes lifting safely and efficiently.
They do, absolutely.
And it's important to remember that the qualified person isn't just a figurehead. They're an active participant in every stage of a crane's life cycle, from its initial inspection to its retirement.
Right, from beginning to end.
They're the ones who make sure that the ASME B30.5 standard isn't just a book on a shelf.
Right.
It's a living, breathing set of guidelines that are put into practice every day.
Exactly, and that's what ultimately ensures that crane operations are conducted safely, protecting lives, preserving property, and keeping those projects moving forward.
Well, this deep dive has been incredibly insightful. We've gone from the high level overview of the ASME B30.5 standard all the way down to the nitty-gritty details of inspections, rope replacement, and the crucial role of the qualified persons. It's a lot to take in, but I think it's essential knowledge for anyone involved in the world of cranes.
I agree. Knowledge is power, and when it comes to crane safety, that power can literally save lives.
And a big thanks to Safety One Source for supporting this deep dive and for their dedication to promoting safety in this industry.
It's been a pleasure sharing this information with you and your listeners. I hope it empowers everyone to approach crane operations with a heightened sense of awareness and a commitment to safety.
So to our listeners, remember that crane safety is a shared responsibility. Stay informed, stay vigilant, and never hesitate to ask questions or seek guidance from those qualified experts who are there to support you. Stay safe out there and keep those cranes lifting high.